कामितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सगणाधिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशधारिणे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वतीति नामिने श्रीवार्षभानवी देवी दयिताय कृपाभये कृष्णसम्बन्धविज्ञान दायिने प्रभवे नमः माधुर्योज्ज्वल प्रेमाढ्य श्रीरूपानुगवक्तिदा श्रीगौरा करुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपानुगाविरुद्धाप सिद्धान्तद्वान्तहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षाद्वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बारसाम्बोधे पादाम्बुजायते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगावरायते गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जनप्रियः वैष्णवसार्वभौमः श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महागण्याय विश्वप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरद्विषे नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धौ दीनबन्धौ जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते जयतां सुरतोर्भङ्गो मामन्दमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदाम्भोजो राधामदनमोहनो दिव्यबृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमालः श्रीमद्रत्नागारसिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमद्राधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेवो प्रश्रालभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमान् रासरसारम्भी वंशीवटतटस्थितः कर्षं वेणुस्वनैर्गोपीर्गोपीनाथः श्रियस्तु नः तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So we are in text number 35.
34 completed. 35 years now.
35. Now 2 verses of Chatushloki done. Now talk about, the first verse talks about 2 forms of the Lord, which says that Sadasat Param, transcendental. The second form of the Lord is Yedetacha, the whole world. What you see is me only. And then 2 ways of interpreting the second verse. One is according to the Mahamaya, which bewilders in 2 ways. That is by Vidya potency, making a person understand I am God. Navidya potency, by making a person understand everything belongs to him and is an enjoyer. And also the potency, Maya, Yoga Maya, that also bewilders by revealing and concealing. By revealing the majesty sometimes and by concealing the majesty sometimes. By Yashoda, the supremacy as Krishna was concealed because of rasa. So, this is how Krishna deals with Mahamaya and Yogamaya. Now comes how the third verse, how Krishna deals with them. There are two Mayas that is described. Now how he deals with them, that is described in 35th verse. Yatha mahanti bhutani bhutadurcha vacheshvanu pravishthanya pravishtani tata teshu nateshvaham. Now as the elements, yatha bhutani, mahanti bhutani, earth, water, fire, etc., they enter at the same time, enter everybody, me, table, the microphone, all of you. All the elements have entered, at the same time they are aloof. So, you must have heard about the coverings of the universe. Earth covering, 10 times bigger than that is the water covering, like that. There the elements are there in pure form. And from there the elements enter into us. At the same time they are. In the same way Krishna says, I also, pravishtani, apravishtani. I enter into every living entity. At the same time I am aloof. Okay? So, pravishtana, pravishtata, teshu, na teshu aham. At the same time, I deal with the Yogamaya and Mahamaya in two different ways. Read.
Translation.
Reduce. From here.
Translation. O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created and at the same time I am outside of everything. Purport. The great elements of material creation, namely earth, water, fire, air and ether, all enter into the body of all manifested entities. The seas, mountains, aquatics, plants, reptiles, birds, beasts, human beings, demigods and everyone materially manifested. At the same time, such elements are differently situated. In the developed stage of consciousness, the human being can study both physiological and physical science. But the basic principles of such sciences are nothing but the material elements and nothing more. The body of the human being and the body of the mountain, as also the bodies of the demigods, including Brahma, are all of the same ingredients, earth, water, etc. And at the same time, the elements are beyond the body. The elements were created first, and therefore they entered into the body construction later. But in both circumstances, they entered the cosmos and also did not enter. Similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his different energies, namely the internal and external, is within everything in the manifested cosmos. And at the same time, he is outside of everything, situated in the kingdom of God, Vaikuntha Loka, as described before. This is very nicely stated in the Brahma Samhita, 5.37 as follows. आनंद चिन्मय रसा प्रतिभावितापि ताभिर्यैव निजरूपतया कलाभि गोलोकयेव निवसत्य किलात्मभूतो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. I worship the personality of God and Govinda who by expansion of his internal potency of transcendental existence, knowledge and bliss, enjoys in his own and expanded forms. Simultaneously, he enters into every atom of the creation. This expansion of his plenary parts is also more technically explained in the same Brahma Samhita 5.35 as follows. Eko vidas asurachetum jagadanda kotim yakshaktirasti jagadanda chayaya dantaha antantarastha paramanu chayantarastham govindamani gurashim tamaham bhajam. I worship the personality of Godhead, Govinda, who by one of his plenary portions enters into the existence of every universe and every particle of the atoms, and thus unlimitedly manifests his infinite energy all over the material creation. The impersonalist can imagine or even perceive that the Supreme Brahman is thus all-pervading, and therefore they conclude that there is no possibility of his personal form. Herein lies the mystery of his transcendental knowledge. This mystery is transcendental love of Godhead, and one who is surcharged with such transcendental love of Godhead can without difficulty see the personality of Godhead in every atom and every movable or immovable object. At the same time, he can see the personality of Godhead in his own abode, Goloka, enjoying eternal pastimes with his eternal associates, who are also expansions of his transcendental existence. This vision is the real mystery of spiritual knowledge, as stated by the Lord at the beginning. Sarahasyam Talangam Cha. This mystery is the most confidential part of the knowledge of the Supreme, and it is impossible for the mental speculators to discover by dint of intellectual gymnastics. The mystery can be revealed through the process recommended by Brahmaji in his Brahma Samhita 5.38 as follows. Prema jana charita bhakti lochajanena santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yanashrama sundaram achinta swarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the original personality of Godhead Govinda, whom the pure devotees, their eyes smeared with the ointment of love of Godhead, always observe within their hearts. This Govinda, the original personality of Godhead, is Shyam Sundara, with all transcendental qualities. Therefore, although he is present in every atom, the Supreme Personality of Godhead may not be visible to the dry speculators. Still, the mystery is unfolded before the eyes of the pure devotees, because their eyes are anointed with love of Godhead. And this love of Godhead can be attained only by the practice of transcendental loving service of the Lord and nothing else. The vision of the devotees is not ordinary. It is purified by the process of devotional service. In other words, as the universal elements are both within and without, similarly the Lord's name, form, quality, pastimes, intuition, etc., as they are described in the revealed scriptures or as performed in the Vaikuntha Lokas, far, far beyond the material cosmic manifestation, are factually being televised in the heart of the devotee. The man with the poor fund of knowledge cannot understand. Although by material science one can see things far away by means of television, factually the spiritually developed person is able to have the television of the kingdom of God always reflected within his heart. That is the mystery of knowledge of the personality of Godhead. The Lord can award anyone and everyone liberation, mukti, from the bondage of material existence. Yet he rarely awards the privilege of love of Godhead, as confirmed by Narada. Muktim dadhati karite smana bhakti yogam. This transcendental devotional service of the Lord is so wonderful that occupation keeps the deserving devotee always wrapped in psychological activities without deviation from the absolute touch. Thus, love of Godhead developed in the heart of the devotee is a great mystery. Brahmaji previously told Narada that the desires of Brahmaji are never unfulfilled because he is always absorbed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Nor has he any desire in his heart save and except the transcendental service of the Lord. That is the beauty and mystery of the process of Bhakti Yoga, as the Lord's desire is infallible because he is Achyuta. Similarly, the desires of the devotees in the transcendental service of the Lord are also Achyuta, infallible. This is very difficult. However, for the layman to understand without knowledge of the mystery of devotion service, as it is very difficult to know the potency of touchstone. As touchstone is rarely found, a pure devotee of the Lord is also rarely to be seen, even amongst millions of liberated souls. Kotishvapi Mahamuni. Out of all kinds of perfections attained by the process of knowledge, yoga perfection in devotional service is the highest of all and the most mysterious also. Even more mysterious than the 8 kinds of mystic perfection attained by the process of yogic performances. In the Bhagavad Gita 18.64, the Lord therefore advised Arjuna about his Bhakti Yoga. Sarva guhya tamam bhuyaha shunu me paramam vachaha. Just hear from me again about the most confidential part of the instructions in Bhagavad Gita. The same was confirmed by Brahmaji to Narada in the following verse. Idam bhagavatam nama yanme bhagavato dinam sangrahoyam vibhutinam tad etad vipuli kuru. Brahmaji said to Narada, whatever I have spoken to you about the Bhagavatam was explained to me by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I am advising you to expand these topics nicely so that people may easily understand the mysterious Bhakti Yoga by transcendental loving service to the Lord. It is to be noted here that the mystery of Bhakti Yoga was disclosed to Brahmaji by the Lord himself. Brahmaji explained the same mystery to Narada, Narada explained it to Vyasa, Vyasa explained it to Sukadeva Goswami, and that same knowledge is coming down in the unbroken chain of disciplic succession. If one is fortunate enough to have received the knowledge in the transcendental disciplic succession, surely he will have the chance to understand the mystery of the Lord, and that of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the sound incarnation of the Lord.
Okay. Rahasyam. What is the rahasya? Prema. Love. So, Krishna, he deals with the material energy, and how he deals with the spiritual energy, or how he deals with Mahamaya, how he deals with Yogamaya. How he deals with Yogamaya, Mahamaya, he enters into the world, at the same time he is aloof. He seems to be attached, but he is not. Though he is in the world, he is detached. He is untouched by matter. Is Krishna everywhere? Is he in stool? But is untouched by it. So when you ask this, he says, no, okay. Just so you told, he's everywhere. He is untouched. Andantarastha. He is everywhere, but at the same time he is untouched by it. He is not attached, detached. Now, how does he enter the Mahamaya, Yogamaya? He enters the nostrils of his pure devotees, of his praying bhaktas, and then inundates their consciousness with his fragrance. He enters through his eyes in the form, his form enters through their eyes, and then submerges in them, and they embrace him within their heart. At the same time, the Lord is there outside. As Bhagavan, they can see him. In this way, Krishna, he pravishtani apravishtani. Pravishtani, he enters them and says, and tata teshu na tveshaham. Tata teshu, onto them I am very much attached. At the same time, I am not. Seem to be attached, but not. Fragrance. The fragrance of Krishna's body enters. So, he is entering into the conditioned soul's heart as Paramatma and is detached. At the same time, he enters to the Nityasiddha Bhaktas, senses, by his bodily features, his fragrance, his form, his words. Through his words, he enters the heart. Pravishtani. Pravishtani is enter. At the same time, apravishtani.
So like how the four Kumaras, they just had the smell.
Yes, like that.
And even Narad Muni heard the sound.
Narad Muni could see the form of Krishna in the heart. Number 2, he could get the fragrance and he could hear. The other 2 he could not do. Touch and the tongue, taste, he could not do. That you could only do after you get a spiritual body.
This is similar to 9.4 and 5.
Maya Vidam Sarvam Masthani Sarvutani Acham Tesha Vistha Najamasthani Bhutani.
But pure devotee is presented as extremely rare. So now ISKCON devotees are extremely.
So where did this come? ISKCON devotees come from?
Generally we address devotees, some devotees.
You address, just because you address, that doesn't mean it's become scripture. Let us talk scripture. Keep the management aside. This ISKCON devotee, that temple devotee, this temple devotee, that guru's devotee, this guru's devotee, Gujarati devotee, educated devotee, non-educated devotee, rich devotee, poor devotee. Simple. We are Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada says, ISKCON is one of the branches of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. Branch. Sri Shaka. One of the Shakas. Simple. That's all. So we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Etavadeva jignasyam tattva jignasunatmanaha anmaya vihirekaabhyam yatsyat sarvatra sarvada. So, Etavadeva jignasyam. This words is talking about if you want spiritual knowledge, if you want to realize yourself, approach a spiritual master. And surrender to him. Etavadeva jignasyam. Jignasyam. Approach to know from the spiritual master, the lotus feet of spiritual master, jignasyam. Tattva jignasu atmanaha. So for self-realization, whatever is required, you can learn from the Guru. Anmaya vitireka. You should inquire both directly and indirectly. Yatsyat sarvatra. In all circumstances. Sarvada. In all phases of time. Okay? This is how this verse is talking about Atma Jnana when you see the etymological meaning. But when you go and then see the secret meaning, it reveals prema, it reveals nothing but sadhana bhakti and prema bhakti. So the glory of devotional service is described here. If you want the glory of devotional service to be known at one place, in one verse, it is this verse. It's a long purport, so go on reading the purport.
This is similar to 4.34 of the Bhagavad Gita.
More than that.
More than that.
4.32 is only tadviddhi pranipatena pariprashtena seva upradeshyante jnana jnanina sattva. Here only instruct about the process. That is bhakti. But prema bhakti is not described there. Here in both tad rahasyam tadangam cha. Brahma asked how to execute your orders so that I can be completely free from falsehood. That is the answer given here. Read.
Translation. A person who is searching after Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. Purport. To unfold the mystery of Bhakti Yoga as it is explained in the previous verse, is the ultimate stage of all inquiries or the highest objective for the inquisitive. Everyone is searching after self-realization in different ways, by Karma Yoga, by Jnana Yoga, by Dhyana Yoga, by Raja Yoga, by Bhakti Yoga, etc. To engage in self-realization is the responsibility of every living entity developed in consciousness. One who is developed in consciousness certainly makes inquiries into the mystery of the self, of the cosmic situation, and of the problems of life in all spheres and fields: social, political, economical, cultural, religious, normal, etc., and in their different branches. But here the goal of all such inquiries is explained. The Vedanta Sutra philosophy begins with the inquiry about the life, and Bhagavatam answers such inquiries up to this point, or the mystery of all inquiries. Lord Brahma wanted to be perfectly educated by the personality of Godhead, and here is the answer by the Lord, finished in 4 nutshell verses, from Aham Eva to this verse, Etavat Eva. This is the end of all self-realization processes. Men do not know that the ultimate goal of life is Vishnu, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, due to being bewildered by the glaring reflection in the darkness, and as such, everyone is entering into the darkest region of material existence, driven by the uncontrolled senses. The whole material existence has sprung up because of sense gratification, desires based principally on the sex desire, and the result is that in spite of advancement of knowledge, the final goal of all the activities of the living entities is sense gratification. But here is the real goal of life, and everyone should know it by inquiries put before a bona fide spiritual master, expert in the science of Bhakti Yoga, or from a living personality of Bhagavatam life. Everyone is engaged in various kinds of scriptural inquiries, but the Srimad Bhagavatam gives answers to all of the various students of self-realization. This ultimate objective of life is not to be searched out without great labor or perseverance. One who is imbued with such sincere inquiries must ask the bona fide spiritual master in disciplic succession from Brahmaji, and that is the direction given here. Because the mystery was disclosed before Brahmaji by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the mystery of all such inquiries regarding self-realization must be put before such a spiritual master who is directly the representative of the Lord, acknowledged in that disciplic succession. Such a bona fide spiritual master is able to clear up the whole thing by evidence from the revealed scriptures, both direct and indirect. Although everyone is free to consult the revealed scriptures in this connection, one still requires the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, and that is the direction in this verse. The bona fide spiritual master is the most confidential representative of the Lord, and one must receive direction from the spiritual master in the same spirit that Brahmaji received it from the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. The bona fide spiritual master in that bona fide chain of disciplic succession never claims to be the Lord himself, although such a spiritual master is greater than the Lord in the sense that he can deliver the Lord by his personally realized experience. The Lord is not to be found simply by education or by a good fertile brain, but surely he can be found by the sincere student through the transparent medium of the bona fide spiritual master. The revealed scriptures give directions directly to this aim, but because the bewildered living entities are blinded by the glaring reflection in the darkness, they are unable to find the truth of the revealed scriptures. For example, in the Bhagavad Gita, the whole direction is targeted towards the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, but for want of a bona fide spiritual master, in the line of Brahmaji or the direct hearer Arjuna, there are different distortions of the revealed knowledge by many unauthorized persons who just want to satisfy their own whims. Undoubtedly, the Bhagavad Gita is accepted as one of the most brilliant stars in the horizon of the spiritual sky. Yet the interpretations of this great book of knowledge have so grossly been distorted that every student of the Bhagavad Gita is still in the same darkness of glaring material reflections. Such students are hardly enlightened by the Bhagavad Gita. In the Gita, practically the same instruction is imparted as in the 4 prime verses of Bhagavatam, but due to wrong and fashionable interpretations by unauthorized persons, one cannot reach the ultimate conclusion. In the Bhagavad Gita 1861 it is clearly said, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Uddeshya Jyotishuti Brahmayan Sarvabhutani Yantrarudhani Maya. The Lord is situated in the hearts of all living beings as Paramatma and is controlling all of them in the material world under the agency of His external energy. Therefore, it is clearly mentioned that the Lord is supreme controller and the living entities are controlled by the Lord. In the same Bhagavad Gita 1865, the Lord directs as follows: Manmana bhavan bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vesha satyam te pratijane priyosi me. It is clear from this verse of the Bhagavad Gita that the direction of the Lord is that one should be God-minded, a devotee of the Lord, a worshipper of the Lord, and must offer all obeisances unto Lord Krishna. By so doing, the devotee will undoubtedly go back to Godhead, back to home. Indirectly, it is said that the whole Vedic social construction of human society is so made that everyone acts as a part and parcel of the complete body of the Lord. The intelligent class of men, the Brahmanas, are situated on the face of the Lord. The administrative class of men, the Kshatriyas, are situated on the arms of the Lord. The productive class of men, the Vaishyas, are situated on the belt of the Lord. And the liberal class of men, the Shudras, are situated on the legs of the Lord. Therefore, the complete social structure is the body of the Lord, and all the parts of the body, namely the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras, are made to serve the Lord's whole body co-jointly. Otherwise, the parts become unfit to be coordinated with the supreme consciousness of oneness. Universal consciousness is factually achieved by coordinated service of all concerned to the supreme perspective Godhead, and that alone can ensure total perfection. Therefore, even the great scientists, the great philosophers, the great mental speculators, the great politicians, the great industrialists, the great social reformers, etc., cannot give any relief to the restless society of the material world because they do not know the secret of success as mentioned in this verse of the Bhagavatam, namely that one must know the mystery of Bhakti Yoga. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:15 also it is said, Namam Dushkritana Mudha because the so-called great leaders of human society are ignorant of this great knowledge of Bhakti Yoga and are always engaged in ignoble acts of sense gratification, bewildered by the external energy of the Lord. They are stubborn rebels against the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they never agree to surrender unto Him because they are fools, miscreants, and lowest type of human beings. Such faithless non-believers may be highly educated in the material sense of the term, but factually they are the greatest fools of the world because by the influence of the external material nature, all their so-called acquisition of knowledge has been made null and void. Therefore, all the advancement of knowledge in the present context of things is being misused by cats and dogs fighting with one another for sense gratification. And all acquisition of knowledge in science, philosophy, fine arts, nationalism, economic development, religion, and great activities are being spoiled by being used as dresses for dead men. There is no utility in the dresses used for covering a coffin of a dead body, save getting false applause from the ignorant public. The Srimad Bhagavatam therefore says again and again that without attainment of the stages of Bhakti Yoga, all the activities of human society are to be considered absolute failures only. It is said, Parabhavas tavat abodhijato yavan na jinyasata atmatattvam yavat kriyas tavat idam manovai karmatmakam yena sharir bandhan. As long as one is blind to the inquiries after self-realization, all material activities, however great they may be, are all different kinds of defeat because the aim of human life is not fulfilled by such unwanted and profitless activities. The function of the human body is to attain freedom from material bondage, but as long as one is fully absorbed in the material activities, his mind will be overwhelmed in the whirlpool of matter, and thus he will continue to be engaged in the material bodies life after life. Evam manah karma vasam prayukte avidyayatma upadiyatmane vritirnayavan maivaseve namuchyate devayogena tavat. It is one's mind that generates different kinds of bodies for suffering different kinds of material pangs. Therefore, as long as the mind is absorbed in fruity activities, the mind is understood to be absorbed in essence, and thus one is sure to be subjected to material bondage in different bodies again and again until one develops a transcendental love for Godhead, Vasudeva, the Supreme Person. To become absorbed in the transcendental name, quality, form and activities of the Supreme Person, Vasudeva, means to change the taper of mind from matter to absolute knowledge, which leads one to the path of absolute realization and thus frees one from the bondage of material contact and engagement in different material bodies.
Okay, so till now, first point was discussed that one has to approach a spiritual master in spite of having the scriptures and inquire from him. How should you inquire? Anvaya Vitirekabhyam. Anvaya. Directly you should inquire. And the spiritual master describes to you about the glory of devotional service. So, the glory of devotional service described directly has been described till now. Like Manmanavam Madbhakta, like Evam Pritirnaya Vanmai Vasudeve, Praparabhavastavad Vodjata, Yavan Najijnasas Atmatattvam, Yavat Kriyas Tavajidam Manovai, Karmatmakam Yena Sharira Bandha. Like these verses which talk about glory of devotional service, direct description, that means without devotional service, you had to practice devotional service. That is direct description. Now, the description starts about how this devotional service is Sarvatra Sarvada. Sarvatra Sarvada. So there are so many ways by which Sarvatra Sarvada is described. So let us see. Yeah.
Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada therefore comments on the word Sarvatra Sarvada in the sense that the principles of Bhakti Yoga or devotional service to the Lord are apt in all circumstances. That is, Bhakti Yoga is recommended in all the revealed scriptures, it is performed by all authorities, it is important in all places, it is useful in all causes and effects, etc. As far as the revealed scriptures are concerned, he quotes from the Skanda Purana on the topics of the Brahma and Narada as follows.
So Sarvatra means all the scriptures talk about devotion. So for that he is quoting the Skanda Purana. Samsare spin mahagore jannavritya samapule pujana vasudevasya tarakam vadi visrutam.
In the material world, which is full of darkness and dangers, combined with the birth and death and full of different anxieties, the only way to get out of the great entanglement is to accept loving transcendental devotional service to Lord Vasudeva. This is accepted by all classes of philosophers.
So Sarvatra, another Sarvatra.
Srila Jiva Goswami also quotes another common passage which is found in three Puranas, namely the Padma Purana, Skanda Purana and Linga Purana. It runs as follows. Aloja
sarva sahasrani vicharya cha punah punah idam etam sunispannam reyo narayana sada.
By scrutinizing, reviewing all the revealed scriptures and judging them again and again, it is now concluded that the Lord Narayana is the supreme absolute truth and thus he alone should be worshipped. The same truth is also indirectly described in the Garuda Purana as follows. Param gato api vedanam sarva shastrartha
Yapi yo na sarveshware bhaktas tam vidyat purushadhamam.
Even though one may be...
Now, the same thing is described anvatirekabhyam, indirectly. Read.
Even though one may have gone to the other side of all the Vedas, and even though one is well versed in all the revealed scriptures, if one is not a devotee of the Supreme Lord, he must be considered the lowest of mankind. Similarly, it is also stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 5:18-12.
Another quotation of indirect. Read.
Yes,
Sivatir Bhagvatya Kinchina Sarvaenam Tatra Samasate Sura Ravatasya Go Mahaguna Manorathena Sati Ravato Kahi
One who has unflinching devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead must have all the good qualities of the demigods, and contrarily, one who is not a devotee of the Lord must be howling in the darkness of mental speculation, and thus must be engaged in the material impermanence. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:18 says,
Shabda Brahma Nishnato Nanishnaya Preyadi Shanastasya Shamakaro Bhavani Adenum Yakshataha.
One may be well versed in all the transcendental literature of the Vedas, but if he fails to be acquainted with the Supreme, then it must be concluded that all of his education is like the burden of a beast, or like one sleeping a cow without milking capacity. Similarly, the liberty of discharging loving devotion, transcendental service to the Lord is invested in everyone, even the women, the Shudras, the forest tribes, or other living beings born in sinful conditions.
So, is it for everyone? Yes, it's for everyone. Evai vidam tatitaranti cha deva mayam srishutrahuna sabara vipapa jiva yajjadvadagatma parayana sikshitas triyajjana vikin sudadharanaye. We have read this verse.
Yeah.
Plus.
Immediately after this verse, we say that the Pulindas and Gunas and all of
The lowest of human beings can be elevated to the highest stage of devotional life if they are trained by the bona fide spiritual master, well versed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. If the lowest can be so elevated, then what to speak of the highest, who are well versed in the Vedic knowledge? The conclusion is that devotional service to the Lord is open for all, regardless of who they are. That is the confirmation of its application for all kinds of performers of the service.
So, Shuddharanai means those who are initiated, Brahmanas, what to speak of them? Even the other people can. Then comes, what about the living entities, other living entities, insects, creatures and all? Even they can do. Read.
Therefore, the devotional service of the Lord with perfect knowledge through the training of bona fide spiritual master is advised for everyone, even if one happens not to be a human being. This is confirmed in the Garuda Purana as follows.
Vikshimiganam cha haro samyastacedasam urdhvameva gatim manye kim punargyaninam nrinam.
Even the worms, birds and beasts are assured of elevation to the highest perfectional light if they are completely surrendered to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So what to speak of the philosophers among the human beings?
And this paragraph is very wonderful paragraph. Read.
Therefore, there is no need to seek properly qualified candidates for discharging devotional service to the Lord. Let them be either well-behaved or ill-trained. Let them be either learned or fools. Let them be either grossly attached or in the renounced order of life. Let them be liberated souls or desirous of salvation. Let them be inexpert in the discharge of devotional service or expert in the same. All of them can be elevated to the supreme position by discharging devotional service under the proper guidance. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9:30-32.
This should be our preaching motto. Put this in your preaching office. Anybody and everybody. And some people ask, आपके मंदिर में आ सकते हैं क्या? अरे, we have opened it for you only. Then we thought it's only for members. Many people think like that. Read.
अभिचेत सुदुराचारो भजते मामन्यवाद साकुदेव समन्तव्य सम्यक् व्यवस्थितो हि स मामि पार्थ विपाश्चित्य ये विश्वपापयोनयः स्त्रियो वैश्यस्तथा शूद्रास्तेऽपि परागतिम्. Even if a person is fully addicted to all sorts of sinful acts, if he happens to be engaged in the loving transcendental service of the Lord under proper guidance, he is to be considered the most perfect holy man without a doubt. And thus any person, whatsoever and whosoever he or she may be, even the fallen woman, the less intelligent laborer, the dull mercantile man, or even a man lower than all these, can attain the highest perfection of life by going back home back to Godhead, provided he or she takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in earnestness. This sincere earnestness is the only qualification that can lead one to the highest perfection stage of life. And unless and until such real earnestness is aroused, there is difference between cleanliness or uncleanliness, learning or non-learning in the material estimation. Fire is always fire, and thus if someone touches the fire, knowingly or unknowingly, the fire will act its own way without discrimination. The principle is
Rati papani dushchutishchaira visprata.
The all-powerful Lord can purify the devotee of all sinful reactions, just as the sun can sterilize all sorts of infections by its powerful rays. Attraction for material enjoyment cannot act upon the pure beauty of the Lord. There are hundreds and thousands of aphorisms in the revealed scriptures. Atmaramascha Muniyo, even the self-realized souls are also attracted by the transcendent loving service of the Lord. Kechit kevalya bhaktya vasudeva parayana. 6:115. Simply by hearing and chanting, the one becomes a great devotee of Lord Vasudeva. Nachalati Bhagavat Padarvinda Davani Nimishanam Apisa Vaishnavagra. A person who does not move from the lotus feet of the Lord even for a moment or a second is to be considered the greatest of all Vaishnavas. Bhagavad Prasadatam Prapte Mam Sevaya Praptitam Te. The pure devotee are convinced of attaining the association of the personality of Godhead, and thus they are always engaged in the transcendent loving service of the Lord. Therefore, in all continents, in all planets, in all universes, devotional service to the Lord or Bhakti Yoga is current. And that is the statement of the Srimad Bhagavatam and all allied scriptures. Everywhere means in every part of the creation of the Lord. The Lord can be served by all the senses or even simply by the mind. The South Indian Brahmana who served the Lord simply on the strength of his mind also factually realized the Lord. Success is guaranteed for a devotee who fully engages any of his senses in the mode of devotional service. The Lord can be served by any ingredient, even the most common commodity, if flower, a leaf, a fruit or little water, which are available in any part of the universe and without cost, and thus the Lord is served universally by the universal entities. He can be served simply by hearing, he can be served simply by chanting or reading about his activities, he can be served simply by adoring him and accepting him.
Even a poor man can do it. Anybody can do it. And a child can take part. An old man can do it purpose. Anybody. Sarvatra Sarvada. Read further.
In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that one can serve the Lord by offering the result of one's own work. It does not matter what one does. Generally may say that whatever they are doing is inspired by God, but that is not all. One should actually work on behalf of God as a servant of God. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:27, Yat karoshi dasnasi, yat juhoshi dadasi, yat tapasasi kantaya, tat kurushu madarpana. Do whatever you like or whatever may be easier for you to do. Eat whatever you may eat. Sacrifice whatever you can sacrifice. Give whatever you may give in charity, and do whatever you may undertake in penance. But everything must be done for Him only. If you do business or if you accept some employment, do so on behalf of the Lord. Whatever you may eat, you may offer the same to the Lord and be assured that He will return the food after eating Himself. He is the complete whole, and therefore whatever He may eat as offered by the devotee is accepted because of the devotee's love. But again it is returned as prasada for the devotee so that he can be happy by eating. In other words, be a servant of God and live peacefully in that consciousness, ultimately returning home back to Godhead. It is said in the Skanda Purana,
namo da tavo yajna kriyadishu unam sampurtam eti tasyo
I offer my obeisances unto Him, the infallible, because simply by either remembering Him or vibrating His holy name, one can attain the perfection of all penances, sacrifices or fruity activities, and this process can be universally followed. It is enjoined in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.10. Akamo sarvakamo va mokshakamo dharvi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Though a person be full of desires or have no desires, he may follow this path of infallible bhakti yoga for complete perfection. One need not be anxious to propitiate each and every demigod and goddess, because the root of all of them is personality of Godhead. As by pouring water on the root of the tree, one serves and enlivens all the branches and leaves, so by rendering service unto the Supreme Lord, one automatically serves every god and goddess without extraneous effort. The Lord is all pervading, and therefore service unto Him is all pervading. This fact is corroborated in the Skanda Purana as follows.
Achyute deva devesha Sankachakra gadadhare Archita sarva devasyo Yata sarvagato harihi.
When the Supreme Lord, the personal Godhead, who carries in his hands a conch shell, a wheel, club and lotus flower is worshipped, suddenly all of the demigods are worshipped automatically, because the personal Godhead is all pervading. Therefore, in all cases, namely nominative, objective, causative, dative, ablative, possessive and supportive, everyone is benefited by such transcendental loving service to the Lord. The man who worships the Lord himself who is worshipped, the cause for which the Lord is worshipped, the source of supply, the place where such worship is done, etc., everything is benefited by such an action. Even
now, sarvada, always, is described. Read.
Even during the annihilation of the material world, the process of bhakti yoga can be applied. Kalena nashta pralaya vani. The Lord is worshipped in devastation because He protects the Vedas from being annihilated. He is worshipped in every millennium or yuga, as it is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 12.352. Kriteyadhyaya Vishnu Tritayam Yajdomukhe Dvapare Paricharyayam Kalau Tadhaikirtanam. In the Vishnu Purana it is written, Sahanistam Samohasavibramaha Yanmurtam Shanvapi Vasudevam Nachintayet. If even for a moment remembrance of Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality Godhead is missed, that is the greatest loss, that is the greatest illusion, and that is the greatest anomaly.
Sarvada, you should remember Him always. Yeah.
The Lord can be worshipped in all stages of life.
Okay, now after Sarvada, regarding time, Sarvada also refers to all circumstances. Circumstances. So, what are the circumstances of our life? First one.
For instance, even in the womb of their mothers, Maharaj Prahlad and Maharaj Parikshit worshipped the Lord. Even in his very childhood, at the age of only 5 years, Guru Maharaj worshipped the Lord. Even in full youth, Maharaj Ambarisha worshipped the Lord. And even at the last stage of his frustration and old age, Maharaj Dhritarashtra worshipped the Lord. Ajamila worshipped the Lord even at the point of death, and Chitraketu worshipped the Lord even in heaven and in hell. In the Narasimha Purana, it is said that the hellish inhabitants began to chant the holy name of the Lord. They began to be elevated from hell towards heaven.
Now the place.
Durvasa Muni has also supported this view. Muchetayan namani udite narako api. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, the inhabitants of hell became released from their hellish persecution. So the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam, as given by Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit, is Etavan nirvidyamananam ichchatam apakupayam yoginam nrupanirvitam hare nama kirtanam. O King, it is finally decided that everyone, namely those in the renounced order of life, the mystics and the enjoyers of fruity work, should chant the holy name of the Lord fearlessly to achieve the desired success in their pursuit. Bhagavatam 2.1.11. Similarly,
now there are few verses given, only translation is given, about if you don't take up devotional service, what is the result? You may be very good, but if you don't take a devotional service, useless. That is Vetireka.
Similarly, as indicated indirectly in various places in the revealed scriptures, even though one is well versed in all the Vedas and scriptures, if one is not a devotee of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, he is considered to be the lowest of mankind. 2. In the Garuda Purana, Brihandaradiya Purana and Padma Purana, the same is repeated. What is the use of the Vedic knowledge and penances for one who is devoid of devotional service to the Lord? 3. What is the comparison of thousands of Prajapatis to one devotee of the Lord? 4. Sukadeva Goswami said, Srimad Bhagavatam 2:4-17, that neither the ascetic, nor one who is greatly munificent, nor one who is famous, nor the great philosopher, nor the great occultist, nor anyone else can achieve the desired result without being engaged in the service of the Lord. 5. Even if a place is more glorious than heaven, if there is no glorification of the Lord of Vaikuntha or his pure devotee, it should be at once quitted. 6. The pure devotee refuses to accept all the 5 different types of liberation in order to be engaged in the service of the Lord. The final conclusion, therefore, is that
now it starts about the happiness. There are many sources of happiness, that is from karma, from jnana, from yoga, from bhakti. The happiness of performing bhakti is prema. So happiness by karma is, by jnana is some impersonal realization, negation of material misery. Yoga is, so among the 4, which is the one which gives the highest happiness? That is to be inquired. That is to be, what is the verse talking about? Etavadeva jigyasyam tattva jigyasunatmanah. Now you have inquired about the process. Now you are going to inquire about the result. What is the result? Prema. So now this section talks about prema. Now if you see the 4 verses, Chatusloki, the first verse talks 2 things. What are they? Second verse talks about 2 things. Second verse talks about 2 things. One verse, 2 interpretations. Third verse talks about
how Lord deals with
2 things. How Lord deals with, and fourth verse talks about again 2 things. Sadhana bhakti, and till now what is being discussed is now prayer.
the final conclusion, therefore, is that the glories of Lord must be always and everywhere proclaimed. One should hear about His glories, one should chant about His glories, and one should always remember His glories, because that is the highest perfection stage of life. As far as fruity work is concerned, it is limited to an enjoyable body.
So karma is limited. Next.
As far as yoga is concerned, it is limited to the acquirement of mystic power. As far as empiric philosophy is concerned, it is limited to the attainment of transcendental knowledge. As far as transcendental knowledge is concerned, it is limited to attainment of salvation. Even if they are adopted, there is every chance of discrepancies in discharging the particular type of function. But adoption of the transcendental devotional service of the Lord has no limit, nor is there fear of falling down. The process automatically reaches the final stage by the grace of the Lord. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, there is an apparent requisite for knowledge, but in the higher stage, there is no necessity of such knowledge. The best and guaranteed path.
So what is that? Higher stage means prema.
The best and guaranteed path of progress is therefore engagement in Bhakti Yoga, pure devotional service. The cream of Srimad Bhagavatam in the foregoing 4 shlokas is sometimes squeezed out by the impersonalists for different interpretations in their favor, but it should be carefully noted that the 4 shlokas were first described by the personality of Godhead Himself, and thus the impersonalist has no scope to enter into them because he has no conception of the personality of Godhead.
Okay, now these 4 verses, there is a scope of misinterpretation. That is why we should study the 4 verses in such a way, in depth, seeing that how these 4 verses are not talking about Mayavad philosophy, they are talking about your Vaishnavas. That is why So long purports are given with all the different possible explanations. Each verse explained in two ways. Establish this 2 points in 4 verses.
This must be one of the longest purports.
Yeah.
14 pages almost.
Huh?
14 pages.
Is it?
Therefore, the emphasis may squeeze out any interpretations from them, but such interpretations will never be accepted by those who are taught in the disciplic succession from Brahma, as will be cleared up in the following verses. Besides that, the Shruti confirms that the Supreme Truth, Absolute Personality of Godhead, never reveals Himself to anyone who is falsely proud of his academic knowledge. The Shruti mantra clearly says, Kathopanishad,
Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo
न मेधया न बहुना श्रुतेन यम एवेश वृणुते तेन लभ्यस तस्यैष आत्मा विवृणुते तनुस्वा. The whole matter is explained by the Lord Himself, and one who has no approach to the Lord in his personal feature can rarely understand the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam without being taught by the Bhagavatas in the disciplic succession.
Okay. Shloki is now big yajna, maha yajna. Sometimes people say, no, why are we reading the purports? That is the minimum thing which we can do. That is the minimum thing we can do, so we done that. So Bhakti Vaibhava is done? Yeah, done. What did he do? Minimum thing we read Prabhupada's purport. That much is being done. Actually, yajna, I don't know in our life we are going to read it or not. At least once you have done at least. Okay, next verse. Etanmatam samadhishtha ramena samadhina bhavan kalpa vikalpeshu tavimuhyadi karhichet. Now Krishna says that if you follow my instructions, etan matam samadhishtha means if you follow and also paramena samadhina, and you meditate on my instructions, samadhina, bhavan, you, kalpa vikalpeshu, you will never be namipyati, navimuhyati, karihichet. At any time, in any point of your life, in this life or next life, kalpa vikalpa, you will not be disturbed. Okay? Read.
Fertile brain, the previous purport said that the Lord cannot be fertile brain. The Lord is not be found.
Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo na medasha, nor by intelligence. Again we do the same mistake. Whenever you have some doubt, what you should do? See, it is talking about what? See the verse. Then you will find, if you know any of the Indian languages, it is easy to make out. You don't have to be a Sanskrit scholar for it. Read the purport, read the translation only.
O Brahma, just follow this conclusion by fixed concentration of mind, and no pride will disturb you, neither in the partial nor in the final devastation.
Okay? Now, Sukadeva Goswami starts speaking. Sampradishyevam ajano jananam parameshtinam Pashyatastasya tasrupam atmanonviratarihi. Now, Sukadeva Goswami says, Sampradishyevam ajano jananam parameshtitam Pashyatastasya tadrupam atmano vratarihi. what happened? The Lord disappeared. The Lord, who is beyond all the modes of nature, he instructed Brahma and he disappeared. Read the translation.
Sukadeva Goswami said to Maharaj Parikshit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, after being seen in his transcendental form, instructed Brahmaji, the leader of the living and his disciple.
Then, Antarhidendriyarthaya Haraye Vihitanjali Sarvabhutavayo Vishwam Sasarjedam Sapuratva. Purvat Sasarjedam, he, as before he started creating. How? He folded his hand, Vihitanjali, with great respect to the Lord. And Sarvabhutamayo, Antarhitendriyarthaya. What is the meaning of that? Indriyarthaya Hare. What is the meaning of that? He is the object of all senses. Hari. So you should engage your senses in Haris. Read the translation.
And the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is the object of transcendental enjoyment for the senses of devotees, Brahma, with folded hands, began to recreate the universe, full with living entities as it was previously.
So now the Lord told Brahma that you will not be bewildered in this kalpa. So now Brahma running behind his daughter is which kalpa? From previous kalpa, not this kalpa. Okay? And what about Brahma getting bewildered? Coward boys. It is a pastime of Krishna. Prajapatir dharmapatir ekada niyamam bhadram prajanam anvichan adishtat swarthakamaya. Once ekada, Lord Brahma, who is Prajapatir Dharmapatir, what was he doing? Yamam. He was following all the rules and regulations to fulfill the desire. What was the desire of Brahma? To fill the universe with all the living entities. Now at that time what happened? Narada came. Tam Narada Priyatamo Riktatanam Anuvrata Sushrushamana Sarvena Rajena Daneshanacha Dame. So Narada came to Brahma. Who is Narada? Brahma's son. And he was very devoted to his father. Very obedient. Sushrushamana Shilena Prasharyena Damenacha. Then what did he do? Mayam Vividisham Vishnu Mayeshasya Mahamani Mahabhagavato Rajan Vitaram Prayuchasat. So he came to Brahma and told, I want to know about the Vishnu Maya. And Vishnu, who is he? Vishnu or Mayeshasya Mahamani. He is the controller of the energies. Mahabhagavato Rajan Pitam Paryato Sayat. So he came and Paryato Sayat, he pleased his father with all his divine qualities. And seeing his son with so wonderful qualities, Brahma spoke. That means what happened in the 5th, 6th, 7th chapters. In what circumstance it happened. After Brahma, Vishnu gave knowledge to Brahma. Brahma was engaged in his creation activities. One day, Narada came. And then he asked about the energies. Then Brahma spoke to him, which is already mentioned in 5th, 6th, 7th. Okay. Next. Tushtam nishamya pitaram yoganam pradittamam devarshi pariprapacha bhanyan anupachati. So, Sukadeva Goswami says to Narada, whatever you have asked me, the same thing was asked by Narada to Tasmaidam Bhagavatam Puranam Dasalakshanam Roktam Bhagavata Praha Pritaha Putraya Bhutakrit. What did Brahma do? Whatever he heard from Roktam Bhagavata, as he heard from Bhagavan, he spoke the Bhagavatam, which has got Dashalakshana. Putraya Bhutakrit, being affectionate to his son. Narada Praha Munaye Saraswatya Tate Nripa Dhyayate Brahmavarham Vyasaya Mita Tejasa. So what did Narada do? Praha Munaye, he spoke to, where did he speak? Saraswati Tate. Who is that Vyasa? How is he? Amita Tejasa. Jayade Brahma Paramam. And at the time, Vyasa was meditating on and then Vyasa spoke to who? Me. Who is speaking here, this verse? He is speaking to me. And what am I doing? Speaking to you. So, from Krishna to Brahma to Narada to Vyasa to Sukadeva Goswami to 56. And in that, who was sitting? He went and told whom? Tejana Misha. And after that, what happened? Vyasa wrote that version. And what we are doing? Reading the commentary of Prabhupada. Something like that. Appearance of Bhakti. Yad utaham tvaya prishto vairajat purusha idam asitat vakte tashnam anyam chakritsasaha. Now I am going to explain to you about Yaduttam tvaya prishto vairajat purushadidam, about the universal form. And I will answer you that question which you asked. Where did he ask that question? First question, 7th verse. Second question, 8th verse. Third question, 11th verse. How Purusha avayavair lokaha sapala pura kalpita lokair Anushya Vayah Sapale Tishushuma. All the planets, different planets around them, they are all what? Purusha Avayavair We are the limbs of the Supreme Lord, universal form. Material, universal form. That is what I want to know. I will describe. But before that, Sudhir Goswami says, I told Bhagavatam had 10 Lakshanas. Brahma spoke to Narada, which had 10 Lakshanas. Here those 10 Lakshanas. Then starts the 10 subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so there are two ways of doing that. One is, you just read the translations and finish off in the next 15 minutes. Other one is, just give me one more day on Zoom. On Zoom, okay? Monday is okay. Monday we will do on Zoom. Same time, 6:30 to 8:30 on Zoom. Somebody of you coordinate and send me the link. Okay. I am doing the brahmacharis also Zoom. Monday.
In the afternoon.
Huh?
In the afternoon you are doing. Afternoon you are doing.
In the
brahmachari.
afternoon. Yeah. Then maybe change Monday. I got some appointment.
Can we attend the afternoon?
Acha, we can do afternoon. So not all are free.
Offices. Some of us. Some housework, children are going to school, online school.
Both the time class will happen.
Yes.
Wherever you want to attend. Can you do one thing? Can we do it on Tuesday?
Yes.
Tuesday. Because Monday, I just remembered I had to go somewhere. So we'll do on Tuesday, inform the brahmachari also. Tuesday, yeah, you inform.
Tuesday afternoon evening.
Yeah, same time, 11 to 1 and 6:30 to 10 chapter, 10 subject matters.
Hare Krishna. So let us thank His Grace Ramanujan Prabhuji for giving us this wonderful association and Bhagavad Gatha by loudly chanting 3 times. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Actually, Prabhuji spoke this time the second canto, and there were many technical descriptions, Chatushloki Bhagavatam, Purushitta confirmed. But such a technical details he explained in so easy way for all of us. He answered all our questions and he gave his valuable association. He gave the Bhagavatam class also in temple, a wonderful class on the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur appeared his day. I never heard so many things from him. And last time we heard from him the Narad Vikas Samvad in first canto. So this time Brahmaji and Narad Samvad. So we hope and pray that in future also we will get Prabhuji's association, because future cantos are much bigger than second canto. Hare Krishna.
Okay.